on the batch site. Because I think what we need to look at is if and when additional portables are needed. And I think this is what happened in our discussion last spring. Just because an additional portable is needed to house students does not necessarily mean it's needed at the batch site. And I think when we look at all of the stress and strain and all of the classrooms that are not there and all of the meeting spaces that are not there, I think the last thing we want to do is further stress the batch by adding additional portables. Frankly, even if it wasn't in a historic district, we need to look at what actually is needed. Having said all that, I do think it's important to give the school system what it needs as best we can. And as I see it, what it needs is to have the portables where they are for a little bit longer. My personal feeling is that I understand the need for a 2-year extension request so that the town can plan and so that things don't get uprooted. And I've debated this in my mind quite a lot over the last couple weeks. And I think one of the things we may want to look at as a compromise, if we go this route, and trust me, we will get this to some kind of a discussion as the evening progresses and get somewhere with this. It's my feeling that the town needs to be reminded on an annual basis of where we are and where we need to be. And we may disagree on how we get to where we need to be, but I hope that everyone in town at least agrees that where we need to be is more classrooms that aren't portables. Given that, what I would like to see, if we go this route as a compromise, is something to the effect of, if we do look at granting a 2-year extension, I think we at least need to have a mid-extension review, so that the issue comes back, we understand where we are, we understand where we're going. I also would like to propose to the redistricting committee and the school committee of where do we go beyond if we extend these 2 years. The problem that I start to run into, as has been alluded to tonight, 4 becomes 6, becomes 8, becomes 20. And both educationally and as a district, that's not the right way to go. And I'm certainly not going to put any stipulations on things tonight, but something that I would urge the school committee and all the other school-related bodies to consider if we do vote and grant a 2-year extension is to seriously think about proposing their own resolutions that say they won't come back again and ask for this again and again and again. And I'm not saying that the school committee wants it. I'm not saying any of the building committees want it. But I am saying that it's time that we begin thinking about where we want to be in 3 and 5 years, that we bring the situation to a head, and we address it as a town and move on. And the only way in my mind that we do is if the various bodies in question agree to stop these kind of discussions happening indefinitely. And I think that's something we should think about. Anybody else?
I can't agree with you more. I was really afraid to say anything because I was afraid I would speak in anger, because it's been 5 years. We thought in our initial voting for the modulars that there was a solution on the horizon, and we've already gone through that. And unfortunately, there hasn't been a solution on the horizon. And I'm angry because it's cost me and everyone else in town millions of dollars in the meantime, and it continues to cost us millions of dollars. I think that, well, the saddest thing in my mind is that there are children and families that are suffering because of this approach, and I do not blame any of the committees here, certainly not the school committee. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes for anything, and not the redistricting committee. I feel the same way for all of you. I feel we have no alternative. I guess, you know, we really need to look at the human factor first. Our charge is to maintain the historic district, to try to keep our town common, the kind of pastoral country scene that it has been for years and years. There are other issues on the horizon that may take that away from us in the near future. But I think the kids have to come first right now, and I would agree to the 2 years, but I'd like to know, where are we going to wind up in 2 years? And as Howard says, you know, do 2 become 4, become 6, become 8, and where are we? So, I would be in favor of maintaining the units. I would not be in favor of adding more units, but for the time being, I would support that.
Anyone else on the board want to say anything before we consider where we're going to...
Yes, can I ask a
Please.
question? You know, through all of this, it's been space, 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 and I begin to wonder whether if we do get our beautiful new school somehow, is that going to be adequate? It sounds to me as if you're playing catch-up all the time, that there may not be enough space after we've gone through all of this. How do you feel about that?
I'm not on the school building committee, so I can't comment. I might want to defer on that.
The school building committee is still going through a process of assessing classroom spaces, numbers of classrooms, and have not reported that back to the school committee. The plan that has been on the table for 6 years builds a 29 classroom school at Swan Pond to accommodate, I believe it's an enrollment of 1,425 students through enrollment projections that were done 6 years ago and actually have recently been validated.
So had that been built, we would not have be in this bind?
That's correct.
That is correct. And that building, if Swan Pond had been passed in 1997 when it first passed town meeting and went to an override election, it would have opened
A year ago, maybe?
this year.
This year.
And in that building, would there have been some maneuvering room? Because who knows
Yes.
how much the town will grow.
Yes, and it was planned.
So you shouldn't be faulted for anything, should you?
That's very nice of you.
Tommy, would you like to say anything?
No, I don't really think I have very much to add, other than the obvious that we all wouldn't be here tonight or be faced with these difficult decisions, and because the unfortunate circumstances that have brought us here, that the town has not been able to come to grips with a solution to solve the necessary need for increased school facility in a larger way, which places a burden on the school committee, on all their planning subcommittees, and on us who are trying to be charged with the historic preservation of the historic district in the center of town. So it leaves us, you know, not a lot of negotiating room. And obviously, the saddest thing to hear really is the fact that not only are parents put in a sense of limbo, but the kids themselves. And I think that's very, very hard for any child not to know their literal physical disposition over the next 2 years. And I think it behooves us to act in a manner which is going to at least solve that part. That's obviously the least we can do. But I certainly hope that in the long run, or in the relatively short run, that the town can come to grips with the school situation, so that we're not repeatedly here at the table and everyone wondering, like, why are we here and why do we have to discuss this again? But I think the school committee has done they're certainly to be commended on the job that they're doing, which no one would want to find themselves in that situation of trying to provide the best possible place for educating children with the dire lack of facilities to do what they're in.
Given the serious needs of the situation and given the timetables, as Mr. Armacost, is it?
Yes.
Sorry, had explained to us, what I'd like to propose is that we do take a vote now on the request for a 2-year extension to the existing certificate of hardship for the existing trailers as they sit today, with the understanding that there will be a discussion and a review, even though them staying is going to be handled for 2 years, that there will be the understanding that the relative school body at the time, depending on what committees and things are still in place, will come back to us and we will publicly discuss a status update so that it stays on the docket. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's true. Will someone please move? Thank you. Is someone comfortable in making a motion? If I have to, I'll give someone else the chair for a minute to do it. I know I can do that.
What am I supposed to say?
Tom, you're chair pro tem for the next 30 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, agreed.
I would like to move that the request for a 2-year extension to the existing certificate of hardship for the existing modular classrooms be approved with the understanding that there will be a review by the school committee and the Historic District Commission at the midpoint of those 2 years.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Patricia. Hearing that, and any further discussion? Calling for a vote. All those in favor? Please say
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Now I relinquish my chair position back.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, Tom. I do appreciate that. So,
On behalf of the school committee and more importantly, the children, thank you very much.
it's important to do what's right. And I think that's where we all are right now, and we will certainly look forward to hopefully a positive update in about 12 months from now.
And our continued good communication between the two committees.
Always,
indeed.
always. And thank you for the presentation and all the background information. We do appreciate it.
Do we need to sign anything or at some point, or do we
I
need to sign something?
Yeah, I will dig up, I'll print up something from the existing certificate of hardship, put a new date on it, and I would assume as the chair of the school committee, perhaps it's best if you sign it? Okay, I will get that taken care of this week.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you all. With that, let me just take a quick moment and mention the next item on the agenda so we can get moving really quickly. I had a discussion earlier today with the chairman of the Elementary School Building Committee, Jonathan DeSimone, and he explained to me that they are reviewing, as Mrs. Colella said, the bids from the architects. There is nothing substantive new for them to share with us tonight, so as a board, they chose not to come talk to us at this particular juncture. The expectation is that by our regularly December meeting, the second Monday in December, that they will hopefully have chosen an architect, hopefully have begun the exploratory process, and then have a better purpose to have some discussions with us at that time as to where they are and where they might be with a proposed bachelor renovation addition. So the items on the agenda for tonight is a placeholder. It turned out, to the best of our knowledge, that that actually wasn't necessary. With that, any questions from anybody, either on the board or in the room? Let's take a very quick 2-minute break, and we will reassemble for the discussion with the Police Station Building Committee.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Howard.
Always, Jerry.
Thank you very much. I agree 100% with the assessment. It's on the Worcester State District. Data, whether it's historic district or not,
Yes, you've got
not be added.
problems, you've got problems.
On a pleasure. Thank you.
Jerry, I would seriously, well, if the school committee would consider non-binding, I think it would send a very strong message.
I hear where you're coming from. I think that, along with the fact that we're now starting to